Hey guys, I'm John with Hops and Brews, and recently Rogue Brewing just released their Dead Guy IPA, which is a variant of their famous Dead Guy Ale. Now, they just released their Dead Guy Variety Pack. When I heard that, I was like, they're gonna have a variety pack of just 2 beers? I guess not, because let's check out their Dead Guy Pilsner and Dead Guy Pale Ale. So, Rogue has their famous Dead Guy Ale, probably the most famous Maibock that no one knows is a Maibock. And they just came out with their Dead Guy IPA, which I think is a fantastic example of a classic Northwest IPA. But then they came out with Dead Guy Pilsner and a Dead Guy Pale Ale. So let's check out what the Dead Guy family now has to offer us, and to see if any of them rise from the dead. Rogue's Dead Guy Ale comes in at a 6.8% ABV, a 40 IBUs, and gets an average rating on Untappd of 3.71. Our bold and complex Maibock-style ale that has been introducing countless beer drinkers to craft beer, the world for over 25 years. Chock full of rich caramel malt and herbal hop nuances tied together with a balanced hop bitterness, this guy is still a drinkable as ever. Okay, so Rogue's Dead Guy Ale. I mean, classic Oregon Northwest craft beer in general. Beer. Again, this thing is beautiful looking. I mean, it is just clear. It's amazing looking. It's gold, amber, copper, really more. The head is thick and khaki. All right. You get like lots of honey malt out of this aroma. It's fantastic. This is one of the beers that got me into craft beers over 17 years ago. So, cheers. Thank you, Rogue. Oh, yeah, baby. Wow, man. In all honesty, my recollection of Rogue's Dead Guy Ale was kind of a little bad recently because I'm so used to these juice bomb IPAs, thinking like, man, Rogue's Dead Guy Ale, it's okay, it's all right. Wow, that's a good beer. That is a good beer to drink. This takes me back. I am loving this, enjoying this. Again, this isn't like amazing, gonna be the best beer you've ever had, but it's so nice to get back to a standard, good drinking beer. This is what beer should be. This is what you should start making. If you don't like this stuff, don't get into the hazies, don't get into all that other stuff. Learn to make this first. Learn to do this. Learn, appreciate the nuances of this first. It's just my opinion. But wow, that's great. It's got this malty body to it. It's got a hint of this yeasty characteristics and a bitterness, but it's just like a hair of a piney dirtiness to it. It's really great. I can see my hand through it. It's sweet, a little drying cracker back end, and then a hint of hoppiness. This is a good beer for a burger. It reminds me of going to a restaurant and wanting a big juicy burger. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. That's a good beer. So let's go ahead and check out again Rogue's Dead Guy IPA. Rogue's Dead Guy IPA comes in at a 7% ABV, a 69 IBUs. It gets an average rating on Untappd of 3.83. Dead Guy IPA weaves Citra and Mosaic hops into a subtle malt body to create a bold, complex IPA worthy of the dead. Okay, so I already did a longer video on this, but let's see if it's as good as I remember. Well, since it wasn't that long, I'm betting it is. Oh, that smells like the Northwest. That's actually got a better aroma than I remember. It's piney, it's citrusy. Oh, there's a hint of tropical fruit to it, like of a mango. Yeah, it's like mango and pine. It's great. I love it. I don't know who wouldn't like that aroma. It's such a great smell. Yep, still as good as I remember it. Oregon in a glass. It's a little bit more like 2010 Oregon, but man, it's just got that perfect mix of citrus and pine to this IPA. This beer sits right at that cusp of when they started throwing more citrus into the beer, pine bomb IPAs back in the day. And you got that little bit of fruitiness, but still had a pine bitterness to it. So it's so great. The body's great. The khaki head, it's quite not as khaki of a head as the original Dead Guy. And it's not quite as yeasty, or like I kind of got a crackery flavor from the Dead Guy. This again is just a really great example of a Northwest IPA. This is probably what everyone should shoot for as their first IPA to make. If you can't make this, don't go and venture off into trying something else. Okay? All right, let's see how the Pale Ale stacks up. Rogue's Dead Guy Pale Ale comes in at a 5.5% ABV, a 35 IBUs. It gets an average rating on Untappd of 3.75. Dead Guy Pale Ale features El Dorado and Sabaro hops to create a burst of tangerine and peach notes in a beer fit to raise the dead. Okay, so Rogue's Dead Guy Pale Ale. This looks very yellow, actually. Way more brighter than the IPA. The head is much wider. Every beer has gone brighter and brighter and brighter so far, and the head has gotten lighter and lighter and lighter. Interesting thing, they all have the same yeast strain, so that's cool. This has the least so far amount of aromatics of malt. I'm getting way more hoppy, citrus, tropical fruit. I almost get a little kiwi in there. It's interesting. Cheers. Sweeter. Ooh. Now it's not like sweet, like ultra sweet candy, like they added fruit to it or anything, but wow, that's smooth. I do get a hint of the yeast, of that flavor. Like I said, it's kind of almost a crackery flavor, their proprietary blend. I do actually taste that, and it's sweet. It is not as hoppy as the IPA, which is good. It's just a pale ale. This is really good, actually. This is pretty darn good. What I also love is the cans give you kind of stats on the back of where the beer is supposed to be. And it shows you the characteristics and where it's supposed to kind of lean toward. This one is obviously more of the tropical notes, and it is that way. The only critique I could say is I do taste its Dead Guy. And the fact that they're calling this a Dead Guy Pale Ale, which is good. So I know this is a Rogue beer, and it's really good. Like, I might like this a little more than the IPA. It's really drinkable. Like, wow, I'm really enjoying that. I really hope the Pilsner has something very similar into its characteristics of bringing the sweetness out. So let's check out Rogue's Dead Guy Pilsner. Rogue's Dead Guy Pilsner comes in at a 5% ABV, a 34 IBUs. It gets an average rating on Untappd of 3.62. Dead Guy Pilsner reveals the lighter side of the dead, with its pale golden color, subtle hop bitterness, and crisp, refreshing finish. Okay, so Rogue's Dead Guy Pilsner, and as it's shown, it's gotten lighter and lighter and lighter down the line, and this is just straw yellow with a white head. You can get like a little hint of green in there. I could easily see through this beer. And I like that there's still bubbles going into it. It's very nice, very pleasant. It smells like a Pilsner. It has this biscuity aromatic to it, which I bet is going to lend very well to their yeast. A little honey malt too. Okay. Ooh, wow. Oh. Right away, it doesn't taste like a Pilsner. Like the first second, it doesn't taste quite like a Pilsner. It's a little bit thicker than your domestic Pilsners. This does have that tendency of a German style Pilsner. It's got a little bit thicker body, a little more oatiness to it for some reason. Even though it's clear, it has just a hair thicker body to it. When I've always thought of a Pilsner, I've always thought of, well, the domestic one, which is Pabst Blue Ribbon. Which, again, if you had it, it's just ultra thin, right? And it's got its place. This does not have that body type. This has the same body as the pale ale, which is a light medium. Very, very balancing on more of the lighter inside. Just the cusp. And it's not till the next second or two that you taste that biscuity. There's a slight citrus note to it, which is very pleasant in a Pilsner, almost like they put a drop of lemon juice into this beer. It's fantastic. I would love to have this with some fish and chips or something like that. Something crisp to bring out the flavor, the brightness of the food, and bring out the wonderful balance of this beer. Tasty, tasty, tasty. There's just a hint of bitterness to this beer. Ever so slightly. I get a little bit of straw drying note, and it does really do taste like the proprietary yeast that Dead Guy has been using in these beers. But it leans in so much into this style of beer. Again, a Pilsner is more of that European German style, so this yeast strain really works well with this style. I really dig this beer. Honestly, what I'm really liking about this, it's not a lager. It's a Pilsner. Pilsners aren't made as much. Most people lend toward the lager or even a blonde ale. I really enjoy more of a Pilsner out of all of those because of this particular style. I think it's always like a 50-50 chance you're either getting something like this or something like a Pabst Blue Ribbon where it's ultra thin and crisp. This is a little bit meatier. This has a little bit more body and a little bit more of a citrus flavor to it. There's a little bit of biscuit in here too, which I really, really enjoy. This is a great example of a craft American Pilsner trying to be a European German style. And it marriages the blend, I think, very, very well. So Rogue's Dead Guy variety pack, from their Maibock to the IPA, to the Pale Ale, to the Pilsner. We've tried them all, and honestly, each one I thought actually surprised me a little bit more and more and more. I loved having the Dead Guy again. It's been years since I've had just a standard Dead Guy beer. It's great, it's fantastic. I love the fact that it's a Maibock and it's a style that almost nobody makes, and they made it famous without anyone even knowing what it is. It's fantastic. I remember growing up thinking this was an IPA, but then they did release an IPA. And their IPA is fantastic. It brought me back into remembering starting to homebrew and wanting to make beers myself when Citra Hop first started coming out, and I was like, I have to make beer like this. This beer reminds me of that time. I love it over the big, overly hoppy juice bombs that are coming out now. This isn't overly complex. It's just good old Northwest IPA in your face, and I love it. This pale ale is so fantastic because I'm tired of the standard pale ales that are out there. Blech. This offers a sweet note with this tropical candy-esque flavor to it. I actually almost wanted to have a burger more with this beer than the other two. And I think these two are perfect for having a beer with like a burger or at a barbecue. And I wanted the pale ale more now because of just the balance of that tropical and malty sweetness. And then the Pilsner. Man, that crisp sweetness with the biscuity yeast flavor to it and a just slight hint of citrus lemon juice to it. It's fantastic. And I didn't want a burger with it, and that's what I loved. It wasn't the standard I wanted. It made me want a completely different style of food, and I thought this is going to go fantastic. I love that all of these bring back a memory or a craving to me. That's what good beer should do. Domestic, craft, whatever. It should transport you to either a memory or wanting to do something. And all of these did that for me. I am so happy with this pack. I am so happy with Rogue pushing this again, because in my opinion, they gotten a little pushed out recently with the big push of the haze bombs and everything like that, and they kind of died down. I think this pack and styles are going to really bring them back up into the market of the everyday man drinking beer, because all four of these are great for everyday drinking. These are all great to have in your pub. These are all great to have in your restaurant. These are all fantastic examples. You have a friend that only likes domestic beers and they always have to bring that 6-pack with them over to your house. Boom, you now have this Pilsner for them. You want the perfect barbecue beer to just drink and flip burgers with and enjoy? Boom, you get the pale ale. You want the perfect example of a Pacific Northwest IPA? Boom, right here. And then you want to really freak them out with something they probably never even heard of or tried? Boom, you got the Dead Guy. You have all of these Rogue beers now rising from the dead and making you believe death is only the beginning. See you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Remember, hit like and subscribe. Follow me on all my social media stuff. The links for those will be at the very bottom of the description. Have you ever gotten to try any of these Rogue Dead Guy ales? If you're a homebrewer and looking for the perfect example of what you should shoot for, all of these styles are fantastic. I have no problem buying this pack again and leaving it as a staple in my fridge, especially if it's even on sale. I have no problem buying it. This is a great variety pack. Go check it out. See you guys.